G'day my friends, how you going? Marty, we're here from martysgarden.com.au, just doing some tidying up in the worm cave. It's getting a little bit behind in here because I've been flat out doing stuff not only around the house and sort of catching up and answering emails, and oh man, I tell you what, the world is just going crazy. Everyone wants to learn how to grow food at the moment. So I thought, why not come out with a video? What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with a whole lot of tips, and as quick as I can, reckon we'll get up to close to 10 for beginner and intermediate gardeners, so you don't get overwhelmed in growing your food right at this very moment. And I believe that this just may save your garden and get you being more productive now and into the season. All right, so here we go. Are you ready? Tip number one. Tip number one is you need to take it slow. The thing is, when we start off slow and small at the beginning, we have more success. And when we have success, we're stoked, we're happy, and then we can do more. If we go out and explode with this big, massive plan too quickly, and we can't keep up with it all, we get overwhelmed, more chance that you'll have less success and you'll give up more quickly. So, my advice is, for tip number one, start off slowly with some container gardening and then slowly build out, which we're coming into tip number two. Tip number two is the start of building out slowly. So you've got your container gardens. They're all happening. You're picking some herbs, you're getting some things for tea, you're putting stuff in meals, and then you might extend out into some larger containers and start growing some things like some tumbler cherry tomatoes, different stuff that will grow well in containers. Nearly everything will grow well in a container as long as you've got the right size. You might start going some vertical with some cucumbers and things, but we'll talk about that as we come up further into the tips. So, a garden bed, maybe a small garden bed, like a square meter. Think about your vertical space. Think about your light coming through onto your plants, and allow for your gardening so when the light comes in, the bigger plants aren't shading out the smaller plants. Start off small and think about how you can scale that little area perfectly and get as much food out of there. And that way, you're not running around like a mad chicken with its head cut off trying to get everything done. And then you're expanding out. So that's tip number two. Tip number three. I'm having fun doing this. My dad gave me this idea. You should come up with that one. Tip number three. Tip number three, guys, is the next step. What we want to do is start working towards a balanced garden. So we want to plan ahead because we've got our pots growing. We've put our little garden beds in. What we want to do is start thinking about introducing microclimate into our area. And by doing this, we cover the vertical space by stopping wind coming through. We're reflecting the light and allowing the light to come through in the right spots. We're stopping the cool breezes and creating mini microclimates. Your microclimate may be different from up the person's up the road. And when you create mini microclimates, you get more success. So consider that, your vertical space, what's growing, where the wind's coming, where the light's coming, and the time of year to do with your microclimate. All right, tip number four. This is a good one. This is to do with lettuce and growing leafy greens. When you're growing lettuce and leafy greens, some of the common problems is you're either way overwatering, or you're underwatering, or you're not you're watering sporadically, and this can give sort of uneven growth and make your lettuce taste bitter, and we don't want our lettuce tasting bitter. Another way that makes our lettuce taste bitter is by giving it too much heat, too much sun, and it will start to stress out, and if it starts to stress out, it will throw to seed, and then unfortunately we lose our lettuce crop. So think about that for lettuce. Also for lettuce, what we want to do is we don't want to overfeed it with too much nitrogen. Nitrogen is perfect for leaf growth, but what we want to do is keep the leaf growth going well. And so by using a balanced fertilizer without over-giving the nutrient of nitrogen too much, what we do is then we're not bringing in pests such as aphids. Aphids are absolutely crazy, man, and if they find something that's got a lot of nitrogen in it, they'll start breeding on that spot, and then they will actually cause a lot of havoc. So use a nice balanced fertilizer and don't overfeed with too much nitrogen on your leafy greens and lettuce. I think we're up to tip number 4 now, are we? I've forgotten already. I'm having fun doing it. Tip number 4. Pest control. Pest control. Look, there are many ways to control pests. And if you get massive breakouts, you may have to spray. But there are ways to control pests. And we're going to cover that more as we go through into the video. Now, by planting monoculture, so that means lots of crops the same, all in a long row, what we're doing is we're creating possibly the problem of having more attack. Now, put it this way, picture a nice, beautiful lettuce growing, right? Yummy, 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 yummy. Maybe too much nitrogen, like I mentioned, or there's some aphids hanging around. The aphids start breeding up there. You don't see them, you miss them, and then all of a sudden they go, this is a good spot. I'm going to drop some eggs in here because my little bubbers will be able to move to the other lettuce right next door really easy, and they'll just go fly across, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 nests. Then the next lettuce fly across, and before you know it, you've got this infestation. So what we want to do is avoid monocropping, and this is going to talk about in the next tip. I think we're up to tip number 5, but it doesn't matter which one. We're just going to keep rolling them out. Oh, nearly went to 6. Tip number 5, companion planting. So we talked about that, about the monocrops. What we want to do is we want to confuse pests with companion planting. Now, there are lots of different companions around. Some are great to grow together, some not so much. But we don't have to worry about it too much in the beginning. All we want to do is confuse our pests. So, pests see light spectrum, right? Plants give off light, and that's how the pests see it. So when they're flying in, they're going for a certain colour, and they're looking around, hovering around, going, I'm going to land on that one, that's where that colour is, and that's exactly what I want to eat. Boom, they land on it. Right, but what happens is when we're companion planting, we're not only creating biodiversity for more insects to come through, which we're going to possibly get to, if I can remember getting up to that bit, because we're just rolling out the tips. Right, so companion planting, we put another plant. So we've got our lettuce here like this. We might put a tomato or something that's not blocking out, that's shading it or doing the right thing, or some type of other plant, maybe some basil or some parsley or something. It's going to envelop, and the 2 light spectrums are going to go together, and then the pest is going to get confused, and it's going to jump on to the next one when it's finished with your plant. And also, when it's flying past, if the colour spectrums and the scents are all mixed together, it's just going to wow and miss it, and maybe a bird will come down, boom, grab it. So what we want to do is confuse our pests through companion planting. Good story that. I'm enjoying getting these out. Actually, it's the second time I made this video because the first file didn't work, so I'm really hoping this one does because I'm getting tired making this like this stuff. So I think we're up to tip number 6. Balance in the garden. Now, this is really important. This is what I was talking about with microclimates. When we create a balanced garden by growing our plants sort of around the place, sort of idly-piddly, but making them look nice, confusing them with companion planting, we then introduce our like shrubs and small trees and flowers and things like that to bring in the insects, bring in the good, bring in the bees, bring in the little birds, give place habitat. And by creating balance in the garden, by creating the windbreaks and allowing these little ecosystems to happen, we are then smashing it towards getting a pest-free and a healthy garden. All right. I think we're up to 7. Tip number 7. Tip number 7, soils. It's all about soils, guys. What we need to do is feed the soil, not the plants. It's the soil that feeds the plants. A living, healthy soil that is alive with compost and microorganisms, all that good biology and stuff, feeds the soil. The plant gets the photosynthesis, drops the sugars down into the ground, feeds the biology, then we get this like rotation of energy going through, and that's what gives us our food. So feed the top, try to dig as less as possible, create mulch and things like that. Think about your humus layer. We don't want to put our mulch too thick because when it rains, it's not going to dribble right down through and you're going to get this dry patch down below. Think about your mulch turning into that, all that friable, lovely humus getting all that biology alive, and then creating these levels. And then just throw it on top as you need to, as required. So there you go. Lots in that tip. I think I throw in a few 2 extra tips in that one. So we might even be up to 10, but we'll just go to number 8. Number 8. Please leave a comment down below for number 8. Any questions that you may have regarding what I've got so far. Number 8 is a comment and a thumbs up, guys. There we go. I'm having lots of fun making this video because I'm going absolutely stir crazy inside, but we are going for walks and things like that. I've got to go for a surf, I think. Actually, I'm just having a bit of a play because I want to get these tips out to you guys and help you learn how to grow more food. Now, we're going to be coming up in a second about vertical space. But before I talk about vertical space, I've got something really cool for you guys. Now, over at martysgarden.com.au, I've got a worm farming course, a popular worm farming course that was floating around about $40 for sale. Now, I've dropped it down to 27 Aussie dollars, and you get the 3 months coaching in there. There's also a community in there. And then, as the sales guys also, and there's more. Well, there is actually more, guys, believe it or not. I'm throwing in a bonus, and it's called Getting Starting with Organic Seedlings, a beginner's guide. And it teaches you how to grow organic seedlings right from the very beginning, what a seed is, to getting it out into the sun and growing it, and all the benefits about growing it organically and why you should be doing that. And this is just an awesome course, guys, and I might send myself broke putting it out at that price. But anyway, it's going out at that price no matter what, and I'll probably keep it around for about, I don't know, I might close it after the weekend depending on how we go. So it's only going to be open for a short time until I change my mind and then put it back up again. So jump in there and grab that while you can. All right, let's go into, I think we're at number 9 now, but I've been throwing in so many tips, so we'll just call it number 9. Got to put that little finger down there. I'm not doing any rude fingers, I promise. Number 9, vertical space. Consider using all your vertical space that you can. See, your space is like real estate, right? You've got a lower level, a mid-level, and a top-level space. And when you're growing up the wall, you're using all that vertical space. Now, some things will grow taller in vertical space, like a passion fruit. You can grow along the top edge of a fence. And then in the midway, you can grow actually like beans and peas and things coming up. And if you're just vining your passion fruit along the top or something like that. So, you know, you can grow all different types of beans, all different types of year. And they are a real beauty, and such as peas, you know, I love snow peas, all that stuff. You know, you can grow your cucumbers vertically. And those ones, if you're worried about weight and stuff like that, generally they'll hold onto it and they'll hide under the leaf. So you want your fruit to sort of hide under the leaf so it doesn't get sunburned. And if you're growing anything bigger vertically, you use an old t-shirt or a bit of stocking or something and tie it up and hold the weight that way. Use your vertical space, guys, and that way your small space garden will be doing much better, because we go right back to the beginning of talking about managing it so it's manageable and we don't get overwhelmed and we start losing crops and we can't keep up with everything. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk just briefly about it all. You need to start off slow. Build it up as you can manage it. Bring your kids in to help. Create these little systems. Get into composting, get into worm farming, get into building a balance. Look at the little ecosystems around you. Create your own microclimate. Bring in the birds, bring in the worms. Now, it all takes a little bit of time, but if you manage it all properly, you will achieve amazing results much faster than you think. I've got this tiny little garden out the back, and it just punches out food like no tomorrow, and I'm not even using all my vertical space in it. It's just the nuts. So I've got over 600 videos in here, guys, on this channel. So you need to get in there and devour them. Subscribe before you go. And I really love making this show. I love coming up with little rhymes and that too. So I'm going to do the flexi hand. I think we got to 10. We might have probably covered more tips than that. Plenty of awesome content coming out here on the Marty's Garden Show for you guys. Now, if you're not in the newsletter and you want to learn worm farming, head over to martysgarden.com.au now. Make sure you subscribe. Remember that thumbs up. It was number 8. The flexi hand counter. We all went from 1 to 10 pretty much. Well, I reckon I'll throw in about 15 tips into that. Music. See you next video real soon, guys. Come on, put it on the music. There it is. Bye for now. That was really fun making that. I reckon I should make a few more like that. Do you like the counting hand? The 1, 2, 3. Flexi hand tips. Let me know in the comments box down below if you did. And I'll see you at the next video real soon. I'm going to do a double bye for now.